I've really enjoyed film music after I listened to Charan Raj's work. I've enjoyed a lot of Raj Shetty's films.
If you were to pick up something today and as your takeaway from the interactions with Raj Shetty, what would it be?
He sort of helped me move through the film music process. There is that one sequence of where he's going on the scooter, and then when the music lifts, at that portion he smiles, and the audience went bonkers there. I did not claim that Sanskrit is the mother of Kannada or anything like that.
Hello Sumedh, welcome to the Hindu.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so congrats on So From So and the reception you've got for Tulasi as well. We'll talk about both the projects. Yeah. Before that, let me bring in a personal example. Growing up, obviously it was the cassette era, so I would listen to Rahman was growing very big in that point of time. So Roja, Bombay, Kadalan, and then there was in Kannada, Janamada Jodi, the album was fantastic. So I used to listen to all these songs on loop. What was your association with film music, and which was that one movie, track, or an album that you got attracted to as far as cinema music is concerned?
Yeah, so film music wise, I think I wasn't that invested initially. Like I used to listen to film music like everyone else. I wasn't an enthusiast of it in any way. I think when I was growing up, probably Mungaru Male was very popular, early 2000s.
Okay.
So that was probably one of the early film music that I was exposed to as a very young kid. After that, I think what I've picked up from film music is very recent. I think 2015-16 onwards.
Okay.
I've really enjoyed film music after I listened to Charan Raj's work. So I think from Godi Banna and the onward EPs, I really got into listening to film music mindfully after that.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain level of attention to detail that he's put into the work, which I could really appreciate because I was learning music alongside that. So I think also the fusion that he brought into Kannada music was really fresh. So I think that's how it started.
Yeah. I mean, when you mention Godi Banna, what happens is with Charan Raj, he's given these like dance numbers like Tagaru and Popcorn Monkey Tiger, and also with SSC, the, how do you say, people, how they see him has changed totally. Right, but Godi Banna is sort of always said to be underrated. Can you pick a song and tell us what you like when you mention, say, detailing or the fusion aspect of it? What did you like in that song?
I mean, this would be a cliche, but Nai Sanjage, for example, is a very good, well-arranged song. It has influences of Hindustani, ghazal, and a bit of jazz. And I think it will always sound fresh to you because it's reinventing something.
And when you said Mungaru Male, it's a very good example because that's when people started coming to theaters again, and songs played a big role in that, right? Because the album was a big hit. If you were to pick a song from that movie and say, because see, Charan is a new gen film composer, contemporary, whereas Manomurthy was somebody who was already in the field. So if you can differentiate that, like, was it more, how do you say, simpler in terms of compositions?
I think it was simpler, but it's a different language. I feel like musically it's a different language, and that has its place too. It's not to say that this is better or that is better. To me, that is my vintage. Like you said, your vintage was that. So my vintage is this because I heard it when I was very, very young. So yeah, I think Anisutide and all of these tracks were really, people used to hum those on a regular basis. It was stuck in people's minds. So they're really memorable compositions.
And what about beyond Kannada, like when you said Charan Raj, in the same time period, whether people like say from the Hindi or even Western music that you kind of got attracted
Yeah,
to?
I think I used to listen to my fair share of EDM. Now I've grown out of it, but Alan Walker and such stuff.
Okay.
When I was a school kid, I used to listen to Alan Walker and all of that. There was that phase in the after 2010. There was that phase of electronic music that started, and yeah, so Hindi, I think Shashwat Sachdev was one of my influences. I think his Uri album was really, it really worked out, and it was very good production wise. The quality was really banger music.
Yeah.
So he was one of my influences. And if it comes to English, I like Charlie Puth's music. The way he approaches music is very interesting. I'm not a big fan of the genre itself, but his music is very creative, so it draws me towards that.
Now, So From So obviously is the claim to fame film that you have got. Yeah. So what will happen is you will get more Kannada projects. Yeah. So essentially this will be your home industry of sorts. So now are you trying to understand the history of Kannada music or how people's tastes have evolved? Like say now we like talk about how Hari Krishna and all those people who came during that Mungaru Male and Galipata times. Before that, obviously there was Guru Kiran, and then before that there was Hamsalekha, and even beyond that you can talk about Rajan Nagendra and all that. So do you try to get into the history of it to understand what the greats have done and what worked with a certain section of people?
Yeah, I think subconsciously we've all been influenced by, we are standing on the shoulders of giants. So that there is a certain, in Kannada they say Sogadu to the music, right? So that I think is passed on regardless of who you are. If you have an interaction with the Kannada space, if you have an interaction with Kannada music, it is ingrained in the soul. So that won't go anywhere.
Correct.
Studying the history wise, I think I've delved into a little bit of it, but I think I'm exposed to all the names that you took. So I think that is a better way for a musician to engage with it than to just go through a timeline of music.
Yeah. And coming to So From So, see the film is very, how do you say, the flavor is rooted to the region, right? Dakshina Kannada region. But you have grown up in Bangalore, so obviously the language are like poles apart, very different. So how did you get into the, how do you say, the atmospheric feel that you had to give for the movie? How did you adapt to it?
So my native is actually Uttar Karnataka.
Okay.
So we have Uttar Karnataka, Bangalore, and the film is set in Bangalore. So I have very wide palette. So I think my inspirations were already existing media from Mangalore side, right? Coastal Karnataka. I've enjoyed a lot of Raj Shetty's films, be it Ulidavaru Kannante or ASN. I'm exposed to their film, so their style of filmmaking and their cultural aspects as well. So it wasn't that hard for me to do. And I was mindful that it doesn't sound like an imitation of the culture. That is kind of, it is internally offensive and corrupted to do that.
Correct.
So I didn't want to overuse any elements or any of that. I think just listening to music from that side has given me enough material to work with.
So when you say you're exposed to that, like take for example Ulidavaru Kannante, of course the music again was like a backbone how do you describe it? Like to what extent did the music elevate the film?
In Ulidavaru Kannante, it played a pivotal role, I feel, because there was that subtle influence of, not subtle, it was overt influence of Pulp Fiction and Tarantino-ish influences, right? I think they've taken musical influences as well from that. But what works is the blend of that and say instrumentation from Mangalore's percussions or stuff like that. So that fusion is what works really well, and I think it elevates the film a lot.
Yeah. And in your case, what are the sounds that you used so that it feels closer to home for people who are from Mangalore, Udupi, who are watching So From So? What are the sounds and the instruments that you try to bring in so that it feels more local?
I think one of the major things I've used is Chende. Chende is very integral in almost all of the songs. There are small hits of Chende also. Even though you can't recognize that it's Chende, it's still there subtly somewhere. And I think more than just instruments, there's a certain way that the language and the music flows, right? I wanted to make sure that is well rooted in the cultural scape that they're working with. So I think that just happened subconsciously.
Right.
Instrumentation wise, Chende was one thing, and I've used a lot of percussion like mridangam and all of that. Right? There's a lot of classical influence as well. So that's what works.
And we know how do you say, Raj has a lot of passion for original music or anything original because he writes his films, he stars himself. So even like say from Ondu Motte Kate, that I mean obviously people talk about GGBV because that album became a bigger hit. But even Ondu Motte Kate has a very nice song between him and the teacher. I think it's a montage song which is very nice. So what do you think about his music sense, and also what were your interactions like? If you were to pick up something today and as your takeaway from the interactions with Raj Shetty, what would it be?
I think first of all he's very sorted as a human. Like he's very very sorted, and there is no sense of patronizing attitude or something like now Bandhu will give you opportunity. None of that crap, right? He's very chill, and he recognizes that it's a collaborative process, and he's added a lot to the songs. He has given so many ideas. He has very good music sense. You can tell. So there were a lot of ideas in arrangements also that he suggested, and they worked out really well.
Right.
He sort of helped me move through the film music process because it was new to me.
Yeah. It's a very nice word to use, that he's sorted as a person. So what happens is, like, you're a newcomer, and also the fact that there's a there's a bit of a focus on your age, right? A young boy. So when somebody like that comes into a project, and then you have somebody who's already made a name like Raj Shetty. So first of all, what were your apprehensions? Because obviously everybody aspires to work in big projects, but eventually when you get a chance, two things can happen. You can crumble under pressure. Otherwise, you can kind of, use the opportunity to go forward. So what were your apprehensions?
With them, I'll be very honest, I had no apprehensions because I'm aware that they have a very indie sort of process to making films. It's not the run of the mill sort of way that they make films. Just the fact that the songs were composed and arranged before they went to shoot was enough.
So the entire thing was composed before the
I mean, there were production and all that stuff that was pending, but they had an idea and the duration of the song was done. So they were shooting for the edit basically. They were shooting for the song. Because there were a lot of montage sequences in the film.
Yeah, exactly.
So they needed to know how the rhythm of the music is. So those were done, and then they went and shot it. And it was a very, very collaborative process. And I didn't get any sort of lame criticism or any sort of complaints from their side. So it was very, very breezy to work with them.
It's nice you mentioned the indie spirit of working. Why do you think it's very necessary? Because see, there's one thing that people take it too last moment. Everything happens at the end moment, and the songs are not delivered or something is not delivered. As opposed to like everything is sorted right before, like the planning is set. Maybe because also when you say indie, because you have lesser budget, you have to finish everything on time, and you can't afford more schedules. So why do you think that's very necessary for as a music composer?
think as any technician, it's a very good atmosphere to work in. It's not. It becomes like a very corporate process if it's not like that. The very reason we are doing all this is because we don't want to be in the corporate
setup.
So if this becomes like that, then there remains no point in continuing it. So I think any art will stem from an innate passion of doing something and getting it right, getting that one frame, getting that one song, one arrangement right. So there's a lot of passion behind it, and that also allows room for ego. And ego is, I think, one of the biggest things that is adu in Kannada they say maraka to the
dangerous
space that we are working in. When ego conflicts happen, you no longer care about the art. It's about yourself and the other person. That never happened here. I think that is why it's important.
Lovely. And for talking about Dang's anthem, so see, obviously you have mentioned in a couple of interviews that you knew that it is going to be used for the promotional purposes, and that was the first song that came out as well. So promotion these days, obviously it has to have a hook, and the repeat value should be there, and you never know what people like. It keeps changing the taste.
Correct.
So the pressure of the song working on social media than in the film, because the first exposure is through social media. How did you tackle that? So that it is there on reels, the numbers are good.
So I think the brief only was very clear. So there was no pressure as such. The song belongs in the story as well. It doesn't disturb the flow or anything, and it's very early on in the film. So you are just setting and you are getting ready to watch the story. So I was aware of that. I was aware where the song is going to come, and I was aware of the situation. The added criteria was that it has to be used to promote the film. It wasn't targeted in such a way that social media alli work agbeku or something like that. That wasn't there. When they said it's going to be used for promotion, I knew instinctively what sort of sound would work for it. And Sandeep Tulsidas, he's also worked on the additional production and the score of the film. So we both bounced the ideas. We wanted to go with a psytrance sort of influence because it's very famous around that area, coastal region. And we thought it would fit the pulse of that situation, and that's how it happened. There was no sort of corruption like promotion. This has to work for promotion.
Correct.
When you say that, it doesn't mean you have to work like, oh, it has to be catchy.
That shouldn't be the starting point.
It won't work like that.
But if you look at the song, like visually, you mentioned about how the humor aspect in the music stood out. But how do you bring in? Because see, here the brief would have been like, it's a function is going on and people are dancing and they're high on alcohol.
Right.
But they're also doing all sorts of things. Somebody is dancing crazily. Somebody is singing. So to blend that, where do you draw that experience from? Like to blend humor in the music?
I think a lot of the humor comes from the lyrics as well. Raj has written the lyrics for that. And for this film, my idea was to have a sort of sarcasm that's flowing through the composition. So it's a thin line between being classical and then being a little melodramatic about it.
Got it.
So there is that vyangya is the word. So there is that sort of a tonality to it. I think that is what contributes to the balance between humor and the playability of the song.
Right. And which is that song that Raj liked, that he felt that he should collaborate with you?
One of my old tracks called Daha. I think it came out in 2023. So there was a reel on my profile. It had worked decently well. I think he came across that and then he sent that to me and he said, this is interesting, can we collaborate on a project? One thing is they involved me very early on in the project. Before shoot, there were certain things that I had gotten in the narration which were probably, we didn't make it into the film also. So very early on, I was involved.
Nice. And the scooter song, so what happens is it gives a nice break to the narrative. Like everything is going very seriously,
Yeah.
and then we start looking things from a different perspective.
Correct.
Suddenly, Ravi Anna becomes milder, and the lady is slowly kind of warming up to
Correct.
these people. So everything is very gentle and nice.
Yeah.
So how did you work around that song? It's also a montage song.
Yeah. So the brief for that was it's a sort of a romantic number, but there is a certain maturity to that romance. It's not college romance, or it's not something filled with passion.
Correct. More milder.
Yeah, it's milder because of what the characters are and what they've been through. And their age.
Correct. Correct. That's a big aspect.
A big aspect of it. So I wanted to have a sort of retro touch to it. I piggyback on a raga called Bahudari. So that raga has a certain pentatonic flavor, which is very. It reminds you of certain retro aspects subconsciously. So yeah, so the brief was what drove me to do that, and it had to be gentle because there is no outwardly expression of the romance that is happening. It's happening because of situations.
Yeah,
it's a situational romance. So you can't have grand proclamations even through the music, like I'm yours, you're mine, and that there's no space for that.
It should be, how do you say, subtle.
Yeah, very, very subtle. And Shringara Rasa is what it is. It has that, and it is also Shanta. It is very calm. The song is very calm. There's moments of excitement. I think when I went to the premiere, that song was what gave me the most satisfaction, because there is that one sequence of where he's going on the scooter, and then when the music lifts, at that portion he smiles, and the audience went bonkers there. So that was very fulfilling to watch.
Right.
Because that was the intent, and the editor did a great job to have that in place.
And you sung the Prasadam song, right? Yeah. So when you sing, are there like different versions, and you come and land on one version?
Not really, because there are iterations when we are making music, but performance-wise, I think once I know what the track's mood is, I modulate.
But can you give an iteration, like you went for something and then locked this one for the song, for the Prasadam?
It's about the attitude of delivery, right? The same composition, it's na 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 na. If I sing it like this, it's giving Shringara.
Yeah.
But if
here
I
you wanted
sing
a quirky,
it in a very mocking way, na 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 na, it's sort of edging into classical touch, but it remains melodramatic. I think that was the difference.
Right. Super. So before I talk about Thulasi, when you say independent music, it can be Kannada or non-Kannada. What is it that struck you? Which was the first video that, see, again, back then there was Made in India. You can't call it independent, but it was not a film music. Those were called as album songs.
Yeah,
they were albums, like Falguni Pathak used to sing. So we used to listen to them. What about you? Like, what is the first independent song that felt like very inspiring for you to create one?
I think the era that you talked about, there was a lot of physical media, right? We had CDs, and that was the independent music of that time. Cassettes, CDs. But once it became digital streaming, I think a lot of technological literacy was required to get into that space. Because streaming and all is a very complicated business.
Yes.
And what inspired me is, I think it's not from here. It's from the West. Because the way we approach independent music here has to change, is what I feel. Because I've seen stuff happen like, we want to make a video, so we want you to make a song for us.
So the visual is more important than the music.
I think the issue is they're approaching it like films. It's a music film. So music videos, I think, should be made after the music.
Right.
Because it's a visual reinterpretation of the music itself.
Yeah.
And indie space, when it comes to India, there's enough indie music, I feel. There can be more. There's a lot of.
Can you give me an example that you liked?
There's a lot of fusion bands that I listen to. I think Agam and all. Alt rock fusion bands and Thaikudam in Malayalam.
Yeah.
They're all indie, right? They're independent bands.
And what about in the West? You said you were first drawn
in the West, there's a lot of independent music. I think independent music is more so there than film music. It's a licensing business, right? There's very less licensing that happens here. It's opening up now.
So going by what you said, it's not the budget aspect of it, or it's mostly how you imagine an independent music video.
It should
the attitude shift should
the
be
expression,
towards
right? Expression and the experience should be paramount more than constructing something.
Okay.
Because independent music, for me at least, is a lonely effort. The music itself.
Yeah.
There can be bands and all that, but if you're a single solo act, then you're making music that has influenced you. So it's an expression at the end of the day. There is nothing like, will this work for the audience? That doesn't play into at least my music process.
Yeah. So what led you to do Tulasi, compose it?
Thulasi, I think I made the track a year ago, as I said. So it just happened. I don't know how to.
Was there a seed?
Yeah, the seed was Purandara Dasa's kriti, and I think I've been influenced a lot by Dasarapada and all of that. So, and I enjoy a fair share of that. I think that subconscious influence is what led to this. Musically, I think I like a lot of new genres that are emerging now. There's very niche genres. There's stuff like botanica and hyper pop. You probably haven't heard of these, but they're very music producer community niches. I see what I can take from those and sort of reinterpret what I want to say, what I want to express. So that was how it happened.
Another interesting thing is that in Thulasi, there's no vocal credits. It just says music by Sumedh K. So who sang?
Yeah, I've sung the track. There's a lot of independent music that I've put out. I think there are 20-25 odd tracks before Thulasi. So people who are exposed to that know that I've sung the song. But now that it's just coming out, it's very commonplace for independent artists in the West to do this.
Okay, so you're saying your voice has the capability to adapt to a female vocal, is it? Like a feminine touch to it?
Not really. I think it's an acquired thing. It's just the way I wanted to deliver it in a very sincere sort of way. Also, I think females being on screen is what is influencing that. There's a certain bias, I think, because of the visuals. But it is my voice, that's what I've done. And it's very common when you say there's a Charlie Puth track out, it's sung and performed and produced by Charlie Puth is what it means.
Correct.
That's very commonplace in independent music. Just that it's not happened here much. So I think that's...
Can you sing a line for us from Tulasi?
Yeah. Mudida mallige hoo mudindalu duruta mudida mallige hoo mudindalu duruta odeya Shri Purandara Vithalana Rani odeya Shri Purandara Vithalana Rani.
Lovely, beautiful. So when you look at the feedbacks, the masses are obviously exposed to popular names across the world. So there was this mention of Hans Zimmer, right? When the central aspect of the song comes, you hear a bit of a classical music and a fusion with techno. So how do you look at it, the feedback saying that,
I think it's...
Is it subconscious?
I've listened to a fair share of Hans Zimmer. So I think it's good. People are at least recognizing that. They're recognizing where I come from musically. And it's there is no shame in saying it's inspired from a lot of music that's come in the West, because music production is mainly a Western craft. It has evolved a lot here as well, but there's a lot of innovation that happens there. So I don't think it's wrong to pick that up in any way.
And what about the production itself? Because you said the core of it should be that music first and then the production, right? So, what did you like about how the video was shot?
I think first of all, I like that the video was shot. You know, it happens very rarely. I think that's why people are raving about it. And some people think it's from the film industry. I've seen comments saying Kannada film industry is growing and all of that.
It is completely not. It's completely music and independent.
It's a very parallel thing that's happening. And that's fine, I feel, because people are, they're waiting for something good that they want to listen to and enjoy. The video, I think I have to appreciate Rectangle Films, Yogesh Srinivas, and Light Bucket Productions, Sumedh Shetty, and a lot of people involved. The director, Vishnu Rao. So we all sat, and it was a very, very collaborative process. There was no ego involved. It was an offering in a way. So that's all I can say. It was a wonderful thing. I'm just thankful that it happened.
But you are also upset that, you know, somebody said that if this was made in Malayalam or Tamil, it would have reached bigger. So two things. One is, when there is a comparison like that, does that mean that audience or the listeners, they have lost faith in local music, that is the Kannada music? Two, first you can say that, like, has it happened, like, have we lost out on music lovers?
I don't think so. There's a lot of music that's good coming out in Kannada. I think it's more of an insecurity stemming from, there's a sort of cultural stagnancy that has happened here, I feel. I think we have to draw from what the greats have done and then make it flow again, is what I feel. Because these comparisons they're not drawn in ill will. They're just...
It's mostly like they want people to listen, so they're like pushing it in this way.
Yeah, but I don't feel it's the right way to push it, because Kannada has its own astitva, it has its own identity. And that has to be amplified more than saying Malayalam will release agidre super hit and all that. That's just insecure. It doesn't bode well.
And the second aspect of it is reach. Even for Tulasi, the discussions were around why this was not crossed a certain level of views in the beginning. Obviously, it's grown now. It will still grow. But again, why do you think there has been a problem with reaching the Kannada product to a large number of people? Is it because of lack of promotional ideas, or how you market yourself? What exactly is the problem?
To be honest, I'm not one for this. You know, I'm not one for PR or reaching out or very extensive promotions. I think if it reaches someone and they like it, word of mouth is, I think, the best way that something can spread. And promotion, what I've observed is when something is being excessively promoted, it's usually again from insecurity. Like, it's
true.
The product can speak for itself. I think we should let that happen. And I'm not the person who goes and checks how many views I have or how it's working and all of that, because to me, again, it's expression. I just put it out. If people are enjoying it and they're getting a piece of what I felt, that's more than enough for me. It doesn't matter if it, I mean, logistically, in terms of money and all of that, when there's a production involved, they'll push it. And all of the promotion, most of it has been taken care of by them. So I didn't have to. I think it's not good for an artist to put their heads into this. It will corrupt us internally. So
fair enough. And obviously there was a chatter with the the language row that picked up. So my point is, do you stand by what you said about, basically it started with how Kannada has its own ancient history, its roots and grammar, and it is not derived from Sanskrit. And you had to say that maybe some parts of it are influenced. So do you stand by what you said after all the discussions?
I stand by it. If there's anything I've learned, is not to engage online with people because it's not a very healthy space, is what I realized. And there's a lot of straw manning that happened from what I've said. So I'll just reiterate what I've said. I did not claim that Sanskrit is the mother of Kannada or anything like that, because that's demonstrably false. And the problem that I had wasn't even with constructive criticism. It was with saying that Purandara Dasa Gita has too much Sanskrit in it. You know, that feels like a very veiled sort of attack. It's a malicious attack at the cultural treasure that we have. And if we go on doing this, we lose everything that we've had in the past. Simplification of language is one thing, right? It's important. It has to happen. But to say we'll remove everything and purify the language and stuff like that, I think it's just, we're going to lose out on a lot if we do that. Culturally, we've borrowed a lot from various languages. Languages are not static entities. They're dynamic. They flow with the people. And the problem is that we are viewing language as some lab experiment. It doesn't work like that. It's natural. It just flows. And to say we'll root this out from the language is just, I don't know, it just feels wrong.
So when you say that, but in that entire discussion that went on for a couple of days, did you also feel things were constructive? Like, did you get to learn from what
there were certain things that I did not know, which I got educated about. And that's fine. I think I've learned something from it.
But will this episode change the way you express in public forums or
definitely? I think I should let my work talk from now on. I think I got very aggravated because of the attack on Dasarapada, not on me. My criticism about me, I've been taking it from a long time, so it's not a big deal. It's because I'm a literal stan and fan of Purandara Dasa that it affected me.
Right.
Yeah.
And see, again, the focus goes back on your age and so how are you handling this fame? One film that becomes so big and then people start liking your work. How do you see it? Obviously, interviews come in, people talk about your work, they want to work with you. So what is the state of mind like?
I think it has, it's not fair to say disturbed, but it has overwhelmed me a little. Because there is a certain assumption here that I immediately want to work with everything and everyone. That is not the case. Because I am myself, I have my own thoughts, I have my own expression, I have all of that. So I need time to work on that as well. And this is a very, very early phase for me to just start bombarding myself with projects. That cannot happen. I'll burn out too early and I'll have nothing to offer to the people. So I'm very mindful of that, and I'm only picking projects that I can manage with my time and with my effort. Right. So fame, as in, I don't really, I'm aware that there's a certain degree of recognition that my name has gotten, but I don't see it as fame because that's not why I'm doing this. You know, it's just, it's coming from a very true place, and that's how I want it to stay. So that's
and so what do you do? Like you study in a college, right? What is the course that you're pursuing?
I'm studying user experience design. It's a Bachelor of Design degree. I'm doing that because engineering wasn't my cup of tea. And it's a little creative as well. There's a certain creative aspect to it which I enjoy. So that's why I'm doing that.
And when you talk about music composers, the common thought is they're always composing something or doing something in the studio. What do you do in your free time?
In my free time, I watch a lot of films. I watch films, I watch shows, I go out with friends. So I'm living a very normal life. There's nothing, glorified about doing what I'm doing. It's just that I have this setup and it's something I enjoy. So it's like even though it's a semi-occupation now, it's still a hobby for me.
Right. Lastly, can you name one Indian filmmaker and one Kannada filmmaker you would want to work with because of how they've treated music in their movies?
I think I would love to work with Rakshit sir. I just love the man, I just love where he's coming from, and there's a certain innocence and purity in his work, which I really like. And I would love to work again with Raj sir as well.
Okay. So apart from Ulidaru Kandante, which is your favorite?
I think ASN was also a very aspirational film. I defend ASN when someone.
And a lot of people on social media are defending it now.
Yeah.
They're calling it underrated and should have been done. I mean, should have done well in theaters.
Yeah. I think it has its issues with I think screenplay and all that, but I enjoyed the film.
And how did music help the movie?
Music is brilliant in that film. Like it's perhaps one of the best scores that I've heard in Kannada. It's obviously drawn a lot from Hans and Pirates of the Caribbean and some of Sherlock score. But it's very, again, rooted. They've turned it to Carnatic and they played a lot with the music, and I love that album.
Do you keep watching the movie? Like, do you revisit?
I mean, it's a very lengthy film. But I think I watched it 4 or 5 times.
Oh, okay.
Which is, I think, more than the average.
So you said Rakshit, Raj, any other names?
Personally, I think I also want to get into indie filmmaking. I also write.
Nice.
I've been writing a couple scripts and I want to shoot with my friends.
So you wanted to get into direction?
Yeah, I mean, if that works out for me, I just want to explore filmmaking as a craft, because I think I have stories to tell as well.
Oh, lovely.
So I would want to do that.
So which is your recent Kannada film that you liked?
Recent one, I think Shakahari was a nice film.
Okay. So, but when you say you want to write and make a film, will it be in the, like, say, parallel setup, like an independent setup, or do you want to bring mainstream elements?
I think I want to start with parallel setup because I want to learn before I go and just do something.
Yeah.
I think indie and parallel pipeline is very conducive to learning the craft. So, I'll start with that and then go on slowly.
And what about an Indian filmmaker? Long shot, I mean, you just started now, but somebody who grown up being inspired.
I think Rajamouli would be a very... It's a wild, like, very tangential to what I've done so far, but I like his vision and...
But his movies are also very emotional at the core. And he does that with music as well.
Correct. Music is very important in his films. And topping Keeravani sir would be a task, but it's an interesting,
lovely thing. So all the best for all your projects and congrats on So From So and Tulasi.
Thank you so much.